Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing well. All right, I'm gonna pop on. I'm popping on. That sounds inappropriate. All right. Hello. Hi, everybody. Is my music good? Let me know how the mic sounds. If I need to turn everything up or down. Just getting things set up. How's everyone doing today? Hello, Flying Kanita, Caddy, Allie, Maurice, Michael Anderson Doyle, which is a fun name. Michael Anderson Doyle, that's a fun name. I like that one. Lily Hazel Eyes, good to see you. I have a Zoom class. Well, enjoy your class, Lily Hazel's Eyes. It's good to see you, my friend. Mighty Ginger Joe. By the way, I got your message on, I'll message you here since, I got your message on Patreon. Can I just say, and I see now your image, Ginger Joe. Can I just say, I mentioned it in the patron wrap at the end of the video because I know you mentioned it, but I adore you. I adore you so much because Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, there's a reason I have Banjo-Kazooie hiding over there in that corner because it's like one of my favorite games of all time. So the very fact that your like name on Patreon and on here is the Mighty Ginger Joe, mwah, I adore it and love it. So just calling you out because I love that name. I guess they're Jinjo. I want to say Jinjo Joe. For some reason, I want to add an extra Joe in there, because who doesn't like an extra Joe? We all like Joe here. Not Joe Biden. Joe Biden we're kind of meh on, but Joes generally. Anywho, Mighty Jinjo. I adore you. It's good to see you, Mighty Jinjo. Yeah, who doesn't love Banjo-Kazooie, Flying Kanita? It's legitimately one of my favorite games. Both of them. I actually like Tooie more than I like Kazooie. They both are like some of my favorite games of all freaking time. I adore them so much. What I want, and this is not me. No, never mind. There's like they sell on this one website all the little like Jinjos. Like they sell the Jinjos. You can like buy all of them as like little figurines, and I want them so bad. I want them so bad. What's wrong with loving both Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day? Both are great, Michael Anderson Doyle. They're both great games. Conker's Bad Fur Day is one of those games that like has not aged well. Like Banjo-Kazooie has some jokes here and there that haven't aged well, but generally like the humor in Banjo-Kazooie is pretty solid, and it's like dark humor. Like Banjo-Kazooie is very dark humor. Especially for a kids game. If you like ever play those games, it's actually like very dark humor. But it's aged decently well. Conker's Bad Fur Day did not age very well at all. Because a lot of it's like very like, look at her big boobs. It's like that very like edgy humor of like the 90s and 2000s of the time. And then there was a lot of like references to, like the Matrix as well in there. But the gameplay itself is actually really, really solid. And like, you know, some of the jokes are fine. But yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day didn't age as well as Banjo-Kazooie, but I still enjoy the game. It's just you gotta be aware of the time and place in which it was made. It was definitely made as like an early 2000s edgy humor kind of thing. Kind of like a James Gunn, Romeo and Juliet, like early James Gunn sort of style of humor. Which, you know, people age up, you know, it's just how it goes. But I do really like Conker's Bad Fur Day. Anywho, I just got in a whole side thing about Banjo-Kazooie there, which I'm totally fine with because I'll talk about Banjo-Kazooie all day long because it's freaking amazing. But just to let everyone know what this is, welcome everybody. If this is your first stream, if you're joining me, this is my weekly chat stream where for about an hour or so, we're probably going to end a little bit early today, but for about an hour or so, I chat with all of you about whatever you all want to talk about. I give you hearts if you give me super chats, but again, no pressure to give super chats because I just try and hang out with the stream as best I can. Obviously there's a lot of you, so I can't keep up with everybody, but I certainly try my best to just hang out with the chat, and we just talk about what all you want to talk about. We're doing things a little bit early today because tonight is actually the video game awards, which actually normally I would actually do a stream and watch it with all of you and like do like a stream along, but unfortunately or fortunately, GameSpot, I do stuff, for all of you who don't know, I do stuff with GameSpot, and so they're having me help out with the stream tonight. So I'm not going to be on camera for GameSpot, but I'll be helping out behind the scenes with GameSpot stuff. So watch the Game Awards. Should be a fun time. Also sending love to everyone over at IG. I don't know if anyone here watches IGN or pays much to IGN, but because I do stuff with GameSpot, I do consider them colleagues and stuff like that. But some people over at IGN recently lost their jobs, so send some love to people who do the hard work over at IGN, who are, especially right before the holidays and on Video Game Awards Day, have lost their jobs, which sucks. So send some love to them. Otherwise, with that all said, let's hang out. See, Soyborn. See, this is the thing. I feel very conflicted because you said yay Elden Ring for the win, and I totally understand. Okay, this is where I'm conflicted. My 2 games of the year this year, well, with a third one kind of tossed in the mix, but my 2 big games this year, Game of the Year games, and normally I don't like to give Game of the Year to like the AAA games, but I think these 2 absolutely deserve it, are Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. It is hard for me to pick between the 2 because I fell in freaking love. I fell in love with God of War Ragnarok. I'm still playing, I'm like 100%ing it right now. And the story of that game is so amazing. The acting, like, as someone who loves actors and loves working with actors, God of War Ragnarok is such like an amazing revelation for like performances in video games. Christopher Judge knocks out, like, everyone in that game is so amazing. It just boggles my mind how amazing those performances in God of War Ragnarok are. The story is really cool, the gameplay is awesome, and yet, like, what I love most about it is it's, like, very targeted in its theming and politics. Like, you know me, I love talking about politics and things, and I think they do such a great job of meshing, like, individual stories with, like, anti-imperialist and anti-capitalist and anti, like, you know, colonialist a storyline. And it also has Marxist propaganda in there as well. It's great. Like, I freaking, like, God of War Ragnarok is so good. And I don't want to spoil, but there's like a twist in that game that so like perfectly captures like some of these themes that I like, of like how neutrality ultimately serves the oppressor. I don't want to spoil, but there's a twist in the game where like it just so nails that, and I so freaking adore. I so adore God of War Ragnarok. And here's the thing, Elden Ring is great. I have not played a lot of it, which is why it's probably not higher on my list. But what Elden Ring has given me is I started playing FromSoft games because I wanted to play some older FromSoft games to get into Elden Ring. And I legitimately played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Bloodborne this year. And I'm probably going to play Demon's Souls, don't forget the apostrophe S, later on this year. Before, like, probably for Christmas. And I'm just gotta say, like, they have become my favorite games of all time. Like, I'm probably going to do a video sometime next year on my secondary channel of, like, my top 100 video games of all time. And, Dark Souls, like, all of them will be. But, like, Dark Souls #1 might legitimately be one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. And I just played it for the first time this year. I freaking adore it. I played Dark Souls 3. Did I not say Dark Souls 3? I said Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Bloodborne, right? I believe I said all 3 of those. But yeah, no, I love all of those games. So, like, it's difficult for me. If I had to pick one, I would probably say God of War Ragnarok, but to be fair, I have not played as much of Elden Ring as I probably should because I've been playing the older FromSoft games. So yeah, that's kind of where my head is at. Oh, Aeronaut, good to see you. Aeronaut, good to see you, my friend. Heart to you, my friend. Sending you love. Also, someone asked me, are you going to see, who said that? Miss Wicked Wolf, are you going to see Avatar: The Age of Water? Yeah, I'm going to see it. I don't have really high hopes for it. Like, the original movie is fine. It's ultimately forgettable. It's, like, mildly problematic in the way that it codes, like, the Na'vi as indigenous folks, and it's definitely a white savior narrative. And there are people that defend that movie as like, oh, it's not a white savior narrative because Jake Sully, like, sheds his, like, his Western heritage and, like, joins them. And, like, this is still, no. I don't have the spoons to, like, analyze that movie right now, but, like, no. No. But that being said, I'm not going to say that there isn't a chance that Avatar: The Way of Water isn't good. Like, I'm sure it'll be fine. I just don't really have any expectation for it to be, like, amazing. I'm sure it'll be visually stunning. Like, I'm sure it'll be freaking gorgeous and, like, something that I'd want to see in a theater for, like, how pretty it is. I'm sure it'll be one of the prettiest movies I've seen this year. But in terms of, like, story that moves me or resonates with me, I don't really have high hopes for it. Maybe. And hey, you know what? I'm always open to, like, being wrong. Like, if it turns out I'm wrong and, like, Avatar: The Way of the Water is, like suddenly, like revelatory cinema, I'm open to it. I'm not gonna be, like, poo-pooing it just because, like, of my expectations for it. But I don't really have any high hopes. But I'm gonna see it. So, who wins, I guess, ultimately in that discussion, if I'm going to see it, who ultimately wins? It's James Cameron, I'm sure. Andrew, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. And you said, what do you think about Minecraft? I enjoy Minecraft. I mean, like, what was it? Notch is the guy who created transphobic asshole. But the game is fun. See, for me, I as someone who, I appreciate so much of the creativity that you can go into Minecraft. There's so much you can do in that, and it's amazing. I'm not a builder person. Like, even when, like, my brother was always the person who always, like, played with Legos and, like, built stuff. And I like Legos, but I always have to, like, use the instructions. I can't, like, make things on my own. Like, I'm really bad at, like building things on my own. And so, I'm just, like, I like the builder mode of Minecraft. It just never worked for me. What I do love most about Minecraft, though, is I love the survival mode. Like, I love games that have, like, procedurally generated worlds, when the procedurally generated worlds are, like, big, open, and exploring things, but you can, like, find stuff. Like, my favorite thing playing in Minecraft was just, like, jumping in survival mode, and then just exploring what was there, like, finding a dark cave, and, like, going around and seeing what's down there, and, like, the creepiness of it. I wish there was a bit more, like, moments of, like, oh, there's this really shocking thing that you can find in Minecraft. I would really love that, but I would, like, I just, like, same thing that happened with, what was the space game? That was, like, people all hated when it came out, but it got better as it came along. It was all procedurally generated worlds. Why am I blanking on it? There's No Man's Sky. Thank you, Miranda. I appreciate you. Like, No Man's Sky has that same draw for me. Like, I just like games where it's just, like, I can go out and explore and see what's out there. Like, I love No Man's Sky. It's just a fun game to, like, go and explore stuff. My problem with No Man's Sky was just there was too much going on. Like, you had to, like, do resource management and stuff. Like, I hate resource management to death. Like, it's just not the... Like, I understand people who do like it. For me, I hate resource management. It's not my thing. Yeah. Miranda, I prefer Yes Woman's Land. That's good. That's funny. I adore that. Okay. Jar Jar Ed, hard to use, said, let's be real, a DC reboot. Did I miss? I wanted to make sure. Okay, yeah. A DC reboot was only inevitable after Justice League 2017, but certain how bad Wonder Woman 1984 was. Imagine the Titanic hitting a mine while sinking. That was the DCU. Yeah, I mean, everyone's getting all upset because, like, the Snyderverse isn't coming back, and there's, like, been shifts with, like, Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman, all that stuff. I'm here for whatever James Gunn wants to do. Like, I'm on the record with, like, really loving James Gunn's work. You know, one of my favorite pop culture, like, big pop culture influencing directors. I did a whole video on him. Please go check it out because it's one of my favorite videos that Aronach, who's in the chat, worked on me with, and it's legitimately one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite, like, big comic book directors. Excuse me. And I'm here to see what his direction for the DCEU is going to be. Like, I was never in for the Snyderverse anyways. I found it kind of like, the direction, like, it was interesting in a sense of, like, wow, that's definitely not the way I would have gone, but it's certainly a direction. So I found Snyder interesting, if not someone I liked his ideology or the way he, like, went with his storylines, but I certainly found it to be fascinating as a piece of work. But I'm much more interested in what James gonna do. My only concern with James Gunn as someone at the head of DC is, while James Gunn has certainly gotten much better about being more inclusive in his work. I mean, look at something like Peacemaker, and you see a lot of diverse people, you see a lot of LGBTQ people in that. I hope that it's something that he continues to do, because my only concern with James Gunn is that he's a cis dude. And not that I hate cis dudes or anything, but he has a certain perspective that has been, overly emphasized in Hollywood. And I would like to see more perspectives brought in. So I really hope that, James Gunn isn't going to, be like, let's have a bunch more dudes make movies. Like, let's have some LGBTQ people. Let's have some women. Let's have some people of color make some DC movies. I think that would be really, really exciting. And I certainly think that James Gunn is someone who can do that. I don't think it's like he's shown a history of constantly being willing to push himself to be more inclusive. And I think as long as he continues to do that, I think it'd be super great. Because I've liked some of the direction of some of the DC projects, like Birds of Prey, one of my favorite comic movies of all time. I adore Birds of Prey, and I want more movies like it. Maybe we'll get that Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy movie that I know Margot Robbie has been wanting to do forever. So yeah, it's also a David Zaslav. Like, David Zaslav is a much more concerning problem with Warner Brothers than James Gunn is. But yeah, I am very hopeful for James Gunn running DC, very much so. Let's see, just catching up. The Gay Agenda, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat, my friend. Mwah. Adore you. Right, Flying Kanita? Quinn and Ivy would be... I want that movie so bad. I mean, the Harley Quinn animated show is great. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's really excellent. And they do that there. But I would love a live-action Harley, especially with Margot Robbie as Harley. Like, Margot Robbie kills it as Harley, both in Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad. She also kills it in Suicide Squad as well, but unfortunately that movie is utter crap and treats Harley terribly. So, like, while Margot Robbie's doing her best, it's not great. Not great what that movie does to her character, but she does as best as she can. Moramoth Haunts, hard to you, said Jessie, just showing some love before playing some Pokemon. Oh, well, thank you so much. Enjoy Pokemon. I need to play Pokemon. I bought Pokemon Violet, and it's the first Pokemon game. I'm not kidding. Besides Eve, like Let's Go Eevee, I bought Let's Go Eevee because it was a remake of Pokemon Red and Blue, and so I'm here for that. I played Pokemon, like, I love Pokemon Red and Blue, and so I bought Let's Go Eevee. But I have not played an original, like, new Pokemon game from the ground up since Crystal. I played Pokemon Crystal when it came out on my Game Boy Color. I believe that was Game Boy Color. And have not played a Pokemon game since. So I bought Pokemon Violet because, performance issues aside, which, by the way, companies sending out, like, forcing creators to crunch and then releasing games early because they needed me to market thing, and then just, like, having the game, like, be in just a shitty state of repair, like CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 for a big problem with that, is really awful. But having said that, I heard that Pokemon Violet is probably the best Pokemon game to play since in a while. So I'm looking forward to playing it. So though I feel like I might enjoy Arceus more because that seems more like a chill game. I'm here for a chill game. Generally, performance problems don't really bother me that much in games. Like, I played even Cyberpunk 2077 on a PlayStation 4 when it came out, and I didn't mind the performance issues in that. Like, absolutely unacceptable state to release that game in, and the crunch that they put their people under is absolutely horrible. And also the story of Cyberpunk 2077, not great either. Like, a lot of problems with Cyberpunk 2077. But I didn't, like, in terms of the performance issues, I personally didn't mind it, but I understand, like, it's in an unacceptable state to release a game in. I personally didn't mind it, because they usually don't bother me unless they're, like, totally broken. Did I miss any other super chats? I think I caught them all. Oh, I'm missing one more from Jar Jar Ed. Heart to you, Jar Jar Ed. Sending you another heart. Thank you so much for the super chat again. You said the problem with continuing the DCU after standalone stuff just was the quality control being all over the place, no consistency. Yeah. I mean, I already ranted about it, but like my thoughts on the DCEU are pretty out there. But yeah, it was the DCEU just was tonally like, to be honest with you, while the quality was all over the place, after Justice League, I kind of was here for, and I kind of still am here for, the much more one-off approach of DC. Like, I like that Birds of Prey felt very different from the Batman, felt very different from even Joker, even though I don't love the Joker as a movie. You know, I like that those are very different films. Because, you know, while I enjoy Marvel, especially now that we're in Phase 4 of Marvel, my problem... Yeah, Sophie from Mars is Cyberpunk 2077 video's excellent, Aronok. If anyone hasn't seen it, go watch Sophie from Mars Cyberpunk 2077 video. I think it is, like, the definitive take on Cyberpunk 2077. Like, if you're looking for a Cyberpunk 2077 take, Sophie from Mars' video is, I think, the take to watch on. And then also Hello Future Me. I think he did a decent job as well. Tim did a good job with that as well. I think he was ultimately a little bit more positive on it than I would have been with his take, but I still agreed with I agreed with most of his analysis. I was less agreeing with his conclusion, but his analysis I thought was really great. But Sophie from Mars is definitely one that I really liked. Anyways, back to Marvel. While I enjoy Marvel films, and they're much more consistent qualitatively, though a little bit more up and down with Phase 4, my problem with Marvel is that it gets very samey. Like, every single Marvel movie is kind of the same. And the moments that I really like Marvel more is when they break out of the kind of mold a little bit more. So, like, WandaVision up until the final episode. Loki pretty much all the way through, though I have problems with Loki. And then Black Panther. Like, I like those movies quite a bit because they like break the mold a little bit more. Whereas something like Doctor Strange 2, which I was very excited about but kind of disappointed in, or and I love the Eternals, by the way, specifically for this. Like, people hate the Eternals. I adore the Eternals. I adore the Eternals. I will fight for the Eternals. I know people will disagree with me. I will fight for the Eternals. But just like the Marvel movies that break the mold a little bit more, I enjoy a lot more than the kind of the tonally samey kind of thing that we get with Marvel. Which is why I kind of like DC being like, yeah, they're messy and sloppy and all over the place, but I like that they were not cookie cutter. And what capitalism does and what Warner Brothers wants to do is they want to make a thing that is a repeatable formula. And so what that phase of like DC movies was them like trying to figure out what the next formula for movie was going to be, what's going to take off. And I just hope that James Gunn coming in is someone that's going to be like, nah, screw that. Let's have some fun and let things be a little bit zany instead of samey. Ooh, I like that phrase. Zany instead of samey. That's kind of fun. But we'll see. Bellamy, good to see you. Hello, Bellamy. Heart to Bellamy. Everyone should go to, send some love to Bellamy. Good to see you, my friend. Mwah. Let's see. I missed a couple super chats. Also, Geek Filter, good to see you too. We need to, Aaron, we need to catch up. We do legitimately need to catch up. Please, let's figure that out sometime. I know that's partially on me because I've been busy as all hell, but we need to catch up. Oh, yay, I'm glad Orion said that my video got you to watch Birds of Prey. The only legitimate criticism of Birds of Prey that I will accept is if you are a, was it Cassandra Cain fan and did not like her depiction in the movie. Totally accept that. Understandable. Here for that. And there's other criticisms of Birds of Prey. It's not a perfect movie by any means. But I love Birds of Prey. Let's see. Super Desi, heart to you. Nice to see you. He said, hugs. Being a part of your community has been a joy and highlight of 2022. Looking so much forward to what you have. Oh, thank you very much, Super Desi. Heart to you. And you know what's coming, partially, hopefully, considering you're on my Patreon. If you want to know what's coming next year, check it out. Let's see. Michael Anderson Doyle, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. A heart to you. Right, knit and crochet. See, okay, I'm gonna defend the Eternals for a hot second here. The Eternals is not a perfect movie. I think it is a little bit slow. I think the Eternals was a movie that could have probably been a better Disney Plus show. Like I think Eternals probably would have been like a good 6 or 7 episode Disney Plus show. But I really like the Eternals. I like that it is an ensemble movie. I'm starting to lean towards I like movies are not a single protagonist, but like a family, an ensemble family as leads. I like that it was exploring ideas of eugenics and power and even fascism, and how people sort of made to fight against each other. I like that it's sort of like a love letter to all of human history, and it's not just hey, Western civilization. Though there's still some problems with depictions of like different civilizations overall. I think like generally it is a very like wonderfully evoking like the entirety of human history and civilization. I like the characters quite a lot. So yeah, the villains were dumb. You know, some of the fights were blah. But I don't know, I just, the characterization and the ideas in the Eternals, I really, really loved. I think it's actually a really solid film that people, I think, didn't understand or didn't like as much because it did not fit perfectly well into the Marvel formula. And the things that, like, didn't work about it were things that, like, worked better in other elements of Marvel movies. Like, villains and stuff like that. So, like, the fact that it didn't fit this Marvel movie mold, and the fact that where it did fit into that Marvel movie mold, it kind of failed at it a little bit, I think is why people were very down on the film. Again, it's not a perfect movie. Like, I'm not sitting here to say it's the most amazing thing, but I really did like it quite a bit. Quite a bit more than some of the other Phase 4 movies that people like a lot. Like, people really love Spider-Man No Way Home, and why I love No Way Home for its Spider-Man cameos. Like, I loved seeing my boy, why am I blanking, Sam Raimi Spider-Man in there. While I loved seeing him, and I also loved Andrew Garfield Spider-Man too. Like, that's more like basing off of nostalgia than it is like the movie itself. And I'm just personally going to say it, while arguably Spider-Man No Way Home is a stronger movie, I like Eternals more than Spider-Man No Way Home. Fight me on it. I know that's going to be the controversial take, but I do. Tobey Maguire, thank you. I blanked on his name. But yeah, no, I'm sure no one's going to ever, I'm sure I'm the only one that's ever going to think that. But I personally, if I had to pick one, I would probably watch Eternals again. But that's me. That's me. Total, in my opinion. Does not have to be yours. Bully McGuire. Let's see. Yes, Chloe. By the way, heart to you, Chloe. Thank you so much. Misandry is a precursor to transphobia. Yeah, well, they come together, right? Like, they are similar. They come from similar places, right? Like how best to explain this in a live stream without going into like super history. Like, the reason of our current gender setup, right? And I've said this in numerous videos, but our current understanding of gender in our culture today, at least in the United States and in other Western cultures, comes out of colonialism and comes out of this desire to frame womanhood as, like, especially white womanhood, as weaker, needing to be protected, something to be sort of like placed in the home. These and like women need to like be in this certain space, and it was all done to sort of regiment these roles in order to justify sort of colonialist attitude towards people of color and slavery and black women specifically, and black men as like and like people of color and black people specifically as like quote-unquote beasts of burden, and sort of like justifying them as inhuman and subhuman, and women sort of like white women specifically sort of got placed in that mold of like, well, this is what a woman should be, and this is what like black women are not, and so when it comes to transphobia, it comes out of people wishing to sort of reject that notion that there is a specific way that people should be, that men should be, that women should be, that any human being should be in a specific way. And so, yeah, misandry is definitely a, misogyny, sorry, misandry. So you said misandry because that's against men. Misogyny is what I meant to say. But yeah. Like, misogyny comes before that. Misandry, if you're talking about like the like hatred of men, like the idea that misandry exists, I think definitely is that like man hating is not like, there's a whole other conversation there, and I don't have the spoons to get into it, but about like misandrous sort of thing, but so checking on other stuff. Heart to you, Andrew. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, is it okay to separate art from the artist? Minecraft and Harry Potter were my favorite in childhood, and it hurts me when I found out that creators are transphobic. Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation numerous times about these specific thing, and yes, it is okay to separate art from the artist. I think in terms of, I think there's different conversations to be had when it comes to something like between like Minecraft and Harry Potter. I think those are two different conversations. I think, because the thing with Minecraft is, number one, Notch came out as transphobic. Notch was always probably transphobic, but Notch like really went into like transphobia well after Minecraft had been sold to Microsoft. And while I don't particularly love Microsoft as like this corporate entity that controls everything and is starting to get more and more control in the video game industry, I honestly hope that their buying out of Activision Blizzard doesn't go through. I know that's like another controversial statement, but like I legitimately think it would be bad for one company to own that much of the video game industry. But that's a larger discussion about the consolidation of the video game industry and how it's becoming a bigger problem. But regardless, like Notch no longer owns Minecraft. And the people who own Minecraft are, generally trans supportive. Like after Notch came out, like they released a statement that like we support trans people and things like that. And so I think that as a franchise is a little bit easier to get into, because like you don't have to like directly deal with Notch is like the overriding controlling force. And yeah, I saw that, Luna, about the FTC. Is the overriding force behind Minecraft anymore. With Harry Potter though, J.K. Rowling still controls it. And I think that there is definitely value in saying, I love Harry Potter. I loved Harry Potter before I knew that J.K. Rowling was transphobic, and I don't support her views, and, it hurts me a lot to have her views be part of, the history and legacy of this thing. But I still want to participate in it because it was something that was part of my life for so long. And I think especially if it's part of the Harry Potter stuff that has already been released before J.K. Rowling like really fell down the turf rabbit hole, I think that is something totally okay to do. But the thing is, you kind of have to still always acknowledge that J.K. Rowling is in control of this thing, and that she is doing active harm, like deep harm to the trans community. And so like, if you're like someone like me, like a content creator, if I was supposed to do something on the Harry Potter books or something like that, I would have to acknowledge J.K. Rowling in that way and be like very clear about like, screw her. If you're just a person reading a Harry Potter book, I think that's fine to engage with that. Just sort of like understand it. The thing that I am much more sort of vigilant on when it comes to talking about J.K. Rowling, Beardly, thank you for why. You are continually so incredibly generous. Thank you, Beardly. You are absolutely amazing. I adore you. Thank you, Beardly. I'll get to your chat in a minute, but thank you. The thing with that I'm more vigilant on is like, you should not support anything J.K. Rowling does or the Harry Potter franchise as it is actively released going forward until a certain point where she is no longer in control of it, and it's someone who is actively trans supportive in charge of it. They have to be actively trans supportive. It can't just be like, I'm gonna kick, like, it can't be like Warner Brothers buys out, Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling and says like, we support all people, and then leaves it at that. It's like, no, if the only way that I'm willing to engage with the Harry Potter franchise going forward is if J.K. Rowling, is no longer in control of it, whether, she passes away or someone buys it from her, and then that person group is actively trans supportive, like vigilantly actively trans supportive. If that happens, then I'm like, go ahead and continue with the Harry Potter community. But when it comes to like the Harry Potter video game, when it comes to, whatever I was going to say Fantastic Beasts, but I doubt those are going to get made anymore. But like any Harry Potter TV shows and movies that get made going forward, especially with her in control of them or at least benefiting from them, I don't think you can do that, really. And I understand looking at the Harry Potter video game and being like, the people who work on that game are trans supportive, they are letting people play trans characters in the game, even setting aside the very problematic story that the game probably has, considering you're fighting against like a goblin dude who is like fighting for his own rights, so there's like some very problematic stuff. Like, even setting that aside, you just shouldn't give any money to J.K. Rowling, because J.K. Rowling is using continually her platform to justify like her transphobia. She's saying people continue to buy my Harry Potter stuff, thereby is tacitly endorsing my transphobia. She has actively said that numerous times. She's using people supporting Harry Potter as justification that her views are correct, and using that to point to other people, say, hey, look, people support my transphobia because they support Harry Potter. And even if she wasn't doing that, I would still say you shouldn't support Harry Potter, but the fact that she is doing that is absolutely horrific, and so you just can't. You can't support Harry Potter anymore. And again, if you are someone who loves Harry Potter and wants to still read the books that you already own, power to you. And I totally think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as if you talk about it publicly, you always acknowledge J.K. Rowling is an asshat. In terms of supporting any more upcoming releases, in terms of talking about Harry Potter, in terms of buying more Harry Potter merchandise, I think you cannot and should not do it. I think that's really what we gotta say at this point. So, Chloe, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said tankies are not leftists. Yes, I mean, like, to be very fair, I'm going to be very clear, not a tanky. Definitely don't support, like, for those of you who don't know, like, tankies are people who sort of, like, support the ideas of, like, Joseph Stalin and, like, that form of quote-unquote communism. It's much more complicated than that, and to be fair, I'm not, like, the most up-to-date on, like, knowing all of that is about, but, like, just being very clear, like, the Joseph Stalin and like Russia under like Stalin is a totalitarian government and absolutely awful, like terrible. And so while I am someone who definitely supports like Marxist ideals, I am definitely someone who is personally an anarchist. Like that is my personal view. I am someone who is very skeptical of power and power structures. And definitely am here for like workers' rights and again a lot of Marxist theory. Though even Marx has his problems as like a human being, and some of his theories have problems as well. But like legit overall, that's who I am. Like Stalin is an absolutely terrible person. Was a totalitarian. I talk about this actually a little bit in my Star Wars Andor video coming tomorrow. By the way, I'll talk about this really quickly. Tomorrow I have a video on Star Wars Andor coming out that I'm very excited about. Like, please go watch that video. I know it's not going to do super well in the algorithm. It's 2 hours long, and it's about, like, a niche Star Wars show. But legitimately, Star Wars Andor is one of the most politically activizing and, like, exciting things that I've watched in forever, and that is so surprising to say about a Disney product and about a Star Wars product. I am shocked by that. But I love that show so much. And one of the things that I talk about in that video... and if you're a patron, you get to watch it right now. But one of the things that I talk about in that video is how one of the things that Andor does as a show is it references a bunch of different totalitarian and authoritarian regimes, as well as socialist and revolutionary movements. And one of the cool things that it does is at one point it showcases our heroes as doing something similar to what Stalin did in the early days of the Soviet revolution. So like the heist storyline, like Tony Gilroy, who wrote Star Wars Andor, based the heist storyline that happens in episodes 4 through 6 of that show directly on Joseph Stalin doing a heist to get money for the Soviet revolution. And I talk about that being a somewhat problematic comparison to make in the sense that, like, Stalin is a terrible person and has done terrible things. And so while that element is excellent because it's, like, showcasing what people do to, like, do revolutions against totalitarian regimes, what I also think is very important to recognize about Andor is it says, like, oh, this is based on Stalin, but then also the prison storyline within Star Wars Andor that we have in episodes, I think, like, what was it, 8 through 10, is based on the Soviet Gulag. Not exactly specifically, there are a lot of elements of that prison storyline. It goes to the industrial prison system in the United States as well as even, you know, forced labor camps under the German Nazis. But a big thing that you can point to with the prison storyline is the Soviet labor camps and the Gulag, which is something that Stalin did and is absolutely horrible. So what I like about Andor is it's not just pointing towards and saying like, this is specifically this thing and that these people were good. So it's like, oh, the high storyline that Stalin did in episodes 4 through 6, where it's not saying Stalin's good, it's saying that this element of that sort of revolution that we could point to as having a reference to Stalin was a cool thing, but then also being like, on the other side, being like, these other things that Stalin did as a totalitarian, authoritarian, and an awful freaking person was absolutely horrible and disgusting. And so it's talking about systems of oppression, not specific people, and endorsing specific people and individuals, which I think is so excellent, and it's something you need to do when you're talking about these political systems and movements. I think that's a really important thing, because we tend to, and I know I'm missing a bunch of super chats, so I'll quick get to it, but I think it's an important thing to recognize when we talk about these things, is we tend to get very caught up in aggrandizing specific figures within movements, like Karl Marx, for example, and saying like, we endorse everything that this person does or this person said. It's like, no, what we should be endorsing is the philosophy and the ideology of these things, in terms of like who they support and how best about to support others and support workers' rights, support, just human beings living their lives. But we should not get so caught up in this like cult of individualism and cult of personality that we sort of tacitly endorse everything a single person does. And I think doing so is ultimately a problem. So yeah, I agree. Like, tankies are not leftists because they endorse Stalin, and Stalin did absolutely terrible things. That's not to say every single part of like socialist or Marxist thought is horrible. It is saying that specifically Joseph Stalin is a horrible person, and some of his policies and things that he did as leader are absolutely horrible. So, okay. I missed a bunch of super chats, so let me get to some of that. Beardly Interesting Heart to you again. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, happy holidays, Jessie. Started watching Andor last night up to episode 9 and we'll be finishing it off tonight. It's so god dang good. Thanks for the recommendation. Hell yeah, please. I just ranted a lot about Star Wars Andor, so I won't rant too much more about it. But like, I love Star Wars Andor. I just finished a 2-hour video on it. Go check it out. I'll be doing even, and that's not the, like, Aronok is in the chat, I think, still. Aronok and I are working on a video that is going to talk about Andor even more. So there's a 2-hour video coming tomorrow about Andor, and it's not even like my final say on Andor. There were even things that I cut out from that video that I didn't mention, because I was actually going to talk about the queer representation in Star Wars Andor, which I didn't do. I recorded it, but then realized like this is somewhat ancillary to what I wanted to talk about. I couldn't really fit it anywhere in the structure of the video, so I cut it. Which is something to say about a 2-hour video. So like, there's a lot more to say about Andor. So yeah. So yeah, Aronok and I are gonna have a lot more to say about Star Wars generally and Andor specifically. All right. Chrissy, you said, Jessie, will you ever let patrons or anyone else see your cut footage? I might release some of that, because I did cut it from the Andor video, so I might actually send it off to patrons. It won't be in the actual video itself, but I might share it. The only thing is, I might actually make its own separate video about like queer rep in Andor, because it touches upon something else I want to talk about with queer representation. So I might use that section, not in a video just about Star Wars Andor queer representation, but queer representation in another way that will touch upon how it's represented in Andor. So we'll see. I might end up releasing it too. I'm going to make you watch Star Wars Rampala, most definitely. I have definitely hyperfixated on Star Wars now. welcome to my brain and how it specifically hyperfixates on things. Catching up on here. Heart 2 Geek Filter. Sorry I didn't get back to you about the Andor thumbnail. I got some bug at the doctor's office, so I have crushed. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you're feeling better, Geek Filter. I know you're saying you were feeling better. It's totally fine. I'm actually now pleased with how the Andor thumbnail came out. I always get anxious about thumbnails. I suck at thumbnails. This is the thing. As a creator, I am terrible. I am absolutely terrible at promoting my shit. I'm really bad at it. I wish I was much better about promoting my content. Like that. This is something I was like, there are creators who are very good about the business end of YouTube, can do the clickbait, can do the titles, knows how to like sell their things really well. I am not. If that was the case, I would do not 2-hour videos all the time and have better titles and thumbnails. I'm just bad about that. I'm just like, I'm gonna make the thing that I want to make, and I'm lucky enough that I'm able to be supported in doing that. But in terms of promoting videos, I'm terrible at it. So whenever I make a thumbnail, I'm always anxious about it. Thank you, Art of Zeki. I hate my thumbnails. I hate my thumbnails so much. Like I always think they're terrible. People say they're good. I hate them, and I think they're bad. And I think my titles are bad. I think my video titles are bad. I think my thumbnails are bad. I wish I was better at them. I wish I could clickbait a little bit better. But I'm just bad at it. I'm just really bad at it. Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone saying that you think my thumbnails are good. I think they're terrible, and I get anxious about them all the damn time. But what are you gonna do? Irene's Tunes, heart to you. You said, Jessie, I would get really excited whenever I see a video that's more than an hour ago. What it's about, I would definitely be watching. Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that I help you out with the over 2-hour videos. But yeah, I like I said, I am very excited about that Andor video. I wish I could spend a little bit more time on it. But I want to get it out. I already had a delay. Like that Andor video was gonna come out last week. But because of the horrible stuff with Club Q, which I won't get into now, I had to delay it to this week. And so I didn't have as much time to spend on, even though I'd spent longer on it, I didn't have as much time on it as I wanted to have on it. And there's some things that I would fix up about it, but I also don't want to wait too much longer on the Andor video, because the longer I wait on it, I feel like the worse it'll do in the algorithm. So I already kind of past the time for Andor videos to do well, I feel like, in the algorithm. So I think I could do better with it, but overall, I'm really pleased with that Andor video quite a lot, and I really hope you all check it out. Like, please check it out. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what people think about the video, to be quite frank with you. Like, legitimately, I'm like eagerly awaiting everyone's comments on that video very much. Hayden TCEM, heart to you, said, do you think social democracy could work? What do you mean by social democracy? I'm not entirely sure what you... Is that, like... I mean, I'm sure there's problems with it. I don't know what you mean specifically by social democracy. Social democracy is a political, social, economic philosophy within socialism. It's an economic ideal and policy regime. It is described by economists as advocating economic and social intervention to promote social justice within the framework of liberal democratic policy and capitalist-oriented mixed economy. I mean, I don't know specifically. I'd have to like look more into what social democracy specifically is, but generally my tendency is to be like, no, I don't really agree with anything that is neoliberalist and capitalist. Like social democracy, I guess, would be more like, I'm assuming, again, having not read super into it, my guess is something like adding more socialism into a neoliberal democracy. And while I think that is better than what we have, I don't think it is the ideal way of doing things. Like anything that has because the problem with capitalism, and again, there's many problems with capitalism, but the general problem with capitalism is capitalism does not encourage thinking about human beings. Capitalism encourages thinking about making profit and making things for, like, it promotes profit and promotes self-interest, and it is a inherently amoral system. When I say amoral, I mean amoral, not immoral, amoral. It does not care for morality. So capitalism will do moral things, it will do immoral things, because it doesn't really give a crap either way. And because it is amoral, it will intends to, and it's all about self-interest, it will often tend to lean towards immoral actions because it does not care, and doing immoral things will ultimately probably serve your self-interest more. And so I think anything that sort of like highlights the sort of capitalism and neoliberalist thought, I think is ultimately, it's going to do a lot of harm. And so while I think social democracy is better, and again, I have to like look at the specific arguments that it's making, but like, I think it is better than what we have. I don't think it is my ideal. Like Like if someone said like if someone says, would you rather have what we have now or a social democracy? I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll take social democracy. If that's the choice you're offering me, sure. But I don't think that is the one that I would ultimately pick. Again, I'm an anarchist. So I'm someone who ultimately believes that like systems that promote people having like codified and solidified power over others needs to justify itself. That's not to say that there shouldn't be any power structures ever, but they need to have a lot of checks and balances. They should generally be temporary, and they should always be held accountable to the collective. But again, that just gets into more discussions and stuff. I need to get through some super chats because I need to actually head out very soon to do GameSpot stuff because we got to get prepped for the Video Game Awards because I'm already getting message about it. So I'm gonna quick run through some of these super chats that I've already missed. Okay, we're doing some super chats. We're doing the speed round of super chats really quickly. Chloe, no, I have not. Please yell at me. I am sorry. Keep shaming me, Chloe. I am sorry. I will watch it. Andrew said, I'm thinking of buying the Harry Potter franchise to save from J.K. Rowling from ruining it any further. Oh, I could save up enough money to save my and everyone's childhoods. Andrew, if you buy Harry Potter, hell yes. I'm here for you buying Harry Potter. Please do that. I don't know. You must be pretty dang rich if you're able to buy it from Warner Brothers and J.K. Rowling. But I'm here for it. I support you. I support you. Most hell yes. Finn, good to see you, my friend. Okay, catching up. And Eddie, hard to use that I have a date coming up and I'm nervous. Eddie, be yourself. I always, whenever I go on dates, I also get nervous as all hell. You're gonna do great. Be yourself. Have fun. Dates are always weird. They're always strange. It's especially first dates. Just be yourself, and if the person's a jerk, then that's fine. But I'm sure you're absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure it'll go great. I'm sure you're gonna be amazing. Andrew, hard to you. He says, is there any way to save the Harry Potter franchise without giving J.K. Rowling a single penny? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, the only way is to just let her die. Like I said, I'm not advocating for any specific, like, you know, physical harm to come to her. I think she should be taken. Her platform should be wrestled away from her with any means that is necessary. But in terms of, you know, physical harm, I don't wish her any direct physical harm. But, you know, I think the only way to take Harry Potter away from J.K. Rowling without, like, buying it off of her would be just to die. You know, I'm not calling for any physical harm. Hopefully she dies of natural causes, whatever. But, like, I think that's the only way, to be honest. So. Let's see. Emily C. Heart to you. You said, my mom read all the Harry Potter books to me growing up, and she taught us about trans rights first. That's awesome. I adore that. I can't look at Harry Potter the same way anymore. It's more credit to her memory by not looking past the ostrich transphobia. Yeah, I mean, that's the argument. Again, I won't get into this super quick. This is a super longer thing. I made an article for GameSpot, and the argument that I made in that video, the argument that I would make is you should not give any money to the Harry Potter apparatus at all. The GameSpot article, I ended on a slightly different note because I know that was going to an audience of gamers that are generally actively hostile to trans issues and trans rights. So the argument that I made there was, if you are going to engage with the Harry Potter franchise, if you're going to buy like Hogwarts Legacy, then what you need to do is be at the very least aware and engage with J.K. Rowling's transphobia and be aware of it and push back against it. I know, like, by releasing an article on GameSpot, I know the audience that I'm speaking to is going to be people that are going to buy Hogwarts Legacy whether I want them to or not. And so my argument was, like, if you are going to engage with this, like, I would rather you didn't, but if you are, you need to be aware of what her transphobia is. So I think it is a disservice to not recognize J.K. Rowling's transphobia at all, which is what a lot of people will do. They will say, she's not transphobic at all, she's just speaking up for women's rights, or I don't really care, or even, honestly, even not worse, because people who deny that J.K. Rowling's a transphobe are worse. But one of the things that the apathy is what gets me more, is the people who say, like, I don't care that she's transphobic, or I don't really care to learn about that, I just want to play Harry Potter. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. I'm sorry. If you're going to play Harry Potter, if you're going to read Harry Potter, you need to be aware of this. You need to emotionally deal with it. You need to know the choice that you're making. You need to confront people with that. So I think that that's deeply important. Ogawish, heart to you said, tanky might be defined that way, but it's a common use is a slur to POC as violent and evil. People with literal tanks on my land right now will call me a name for being quasi-tradish. Oh, for sure. And to be very clear, you know, and again, this is why, like, me speaking off the cuff about tanky, like, tanky, like, I specifically talked about, like, tanky as, like, a specific term. There are people who, like, call people tankies just to, like, attack them, right? They'll be like, oh, this person, they see someone's like a socialist and they want to like attack them and be like, oh, you're just a tank, you support Stalinist thought. Like that, I mean, with any term like that and generally things like that, people will use it in a way that it specifically attacks people of color. So like, for sure, like, I want to be very clear. Like, when I talk about tanky, I'm talking about, like, I think, like, Stalin as a person and as a leader was absolutely terrible, and the policies that he enacted were horrific, and he was an authoritarian totalitarian. For sure, tanky has been used to attack people who are not tankies or in ideological sense, but just used to, like, vilify somebody. For sure. So I want to be clear. That is absolutely true. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Death in the Shape of Lovely Italian. You are absolutely correct. Just quick making sure. All right, I got a quick run through these. So these are the last super chats here. Jar Jar Ed Hard to You said, hot take, it's better for some things to end. I was okay with Babylon 5 being done after finishing the series, and I was okay with Harry Potter ending up 7 or 8 story, book story, movie story was done. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, some franchises just need to be over. It's okay to not always continue the story. I think that that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with just letting a story end. In fact, I think it's important that some stories do end. Like, there are some things that I think you can just constantly add more to that universe. Like, you know, you could always add more to certain, you know, stories because they're built that way. But then there are some stories that are like, this has an ending. Like for Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is like a story that you can constantly add like new interpretations and things of it is in it. But then there are some stories like, this has an ending and that should be the end. Valethia, hard to you, said, hello, first time seeing you live. Oh, well, welcome, my friend. Sorry that I can't read your super chat super long. I've recently started binging watching your videos that thought I might donate as well. You don't have a lot of money, but still like to support. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. But please, and I want to be clear, I appreciate you donating to me. I appreciate you supporting me. Thank you so much. I always want to be clear. Take care. Any super chat that you give me, any Patreon money that you give me, if anyone supports me in those ways, should be disposable income. Income that you are able and okay with, like, you know, sending my way. Take care of yourself first. I never, ever, 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 ever want someone to give me money that, like, it's going to, you know, take something away from them in the sense that, like, they're, like, have to sacrifice food or anything like that. So just always take care of yourself first, and I appreciate any disposable income you send my way because it does support me. But please always take care of yourself first. And I'm not saying that's what you were doing, but I just wanted to always be clear about that. Okay. Any other super chats? I got the last two here. Herbie, I want to see Rick Mayall as Peeves, but oh well, that would be fun. Sad we never got to see Peeves in the Harry Potter movies. Heart to you, Cyberquaker. Thank you for an excellent Andor video introducing me to Dominic Noble. I binged several of his videos after watching. Hell yeah, Dominic Noble's great. We adore Dominic Noble here. Should all go subscribe to his channel. He does amazing videos. Also, he's an amazing person. Also, I'm surprised that you haven't seen Dominic Noble in my other, because Cyberquaker, Dominic Noble's been in several of my videos. He's been in, like, the Sex and Star Trek videos and things like that. Like, he's great. Dom's a wonderful human being, and I adore him. So, yeah, please go support Dominic Noble. He's lovely and amazing, and he's in my Star Wars Andor video. All right, everybody. I love you all. I have got to wrap out, because I'm going to do Video Game Awards stuff. So, check out GameSpot's coverage of the Video Game Awards. Support people over, Beerly Interesting. I appreciate that. I hope you really didn't. I hope you're just joking, but I appreciate you, Beerly. Mwah. You are lovely and amazing. And thank you for your generosity. And thank you everyone's generosity. And thank you for everyone for being amazing. Go check out GameSpot's coverage of the Video Game Awards. I'll promote that because that's what I'm going to be working on tonight. What else? Real quickly. Star Wars Andor video tomorrow. If you want to watch it, it's up on Patreon right now. So if you're a patron, go check it out. I'm really excited about it. check it out tomorrow for everyone else. Very pumped about it. I'm gonna possibly try to stream on Saturday for some video games, some Ocarina of Time. We'll see if that happens, but generally that's the plan. Love y'all. Yeah, have a wonderful night, everyone. See you tomorrow at the Star Wars Andor video. Take care of yourself. And God of War Ragnarok for winning. I'm almost certain Elden Ring's gonna win Game of the Year. I would put my money on it. But in my heart, I want God of War Ragnarok. Just for my Sindri. My boy Sindri. I love Sindri. Breaks my heart. Alright, love y'all. Talk to you.